So, Akshay, while we wait for the players to begin, how has been your experience following this illustrious 25th anniversary tournament?
It's been great so far. I've followed most of the games today, and yeah, some interesting positions, some really cool finds, and yeah, it's always interesting to see how different players play on when they know they're being streamed. I think it affects some players differently to others, and so you've seen some phonies that have stayed on the board, some plays that you would normally expect people to play. They just haven't found them. So yeah, it's been fun so far. Pune is always a great place to play,
All right.
and
Send the link. Send the link.
looks like we're ready to start.
Yeah, I think Sudhir goes first. It's an interesting point about playing differently when you're being streamed as opposed to not having the pressure of being observed all the time. Yet to experience that.
Yeah, and I guess it comes with practice. So obviously, the first time you streamed, it's probably a bit more nerve wracking than if you've done it a few times.
Fair point.
But yeah, the story so far, Sherwin is on a red hot streak. He's on a 15-win streak, and he'll want to keep that momentum going. And of course, everyone else will want to try and stop him before he opens up a lead that's too big to catch up to.
Yeah, and I think Sudhir is a fierce competitor. Both are very good poker players. So yeah, can't figure out anything looking at their expressions. And both racks seem to be very bingo friendly. Would you play Alak this turn?
Yeah, Alak is a nice play. Scores 32 points, keeps the ES.
And what would Alak give back? There will be. Oh, okay.
Interesting, he's opted to play cake. Don't think Sherwin has a 7 or an 8 with this rack.
There is an 8 with an R of airborne, but no R's available. No T's available for baritone. Update any of those.
Yeah, I think Sherwin might just want to play something like Dio, under or over, cake. I'd be surprised if he played more than 2 or 3 tiles on this turn.
I think even 3 tiles playing off A, B, and O, keeping a solid leave.
So amongst sort of rain and NIRE, what would you sort of rank as a better leave, perhaps? Considering it's obviously very early game.
I think both are close as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you probably want to keep an equal number of vowels and consonants. So EINR is probably superior to AEINR.
At the request of chat, I'll introduce myself. I'm Aradhya. I'll be quackle support for this stream. We have Hriday and Akshay uh, here with us as well, providing the bulk of the insightful commentary that you see here.
Looks like Shovan's lined up OBI. Playing parallelly to Cake. Maybe not.
OBI would actually give Sudhir a monster double play of Alidades and Caked.
Wow.
But I think OBI is actually the right play because AENR is a very good leave, and of course OBI takes an A back hook.
Yeah, and the leave goes well with the C of Cake for next turn. Ouch.
Yeah,
He's drawn 2 U's.
C is a bit of a blocking tile, so playing OK there actually creates another bingo lane for a word ending in an R. But Alidades here would be a great find, and it would really set Sudhir up for the rest of the game.
It's not the easiest of spots to begin with, but if he does look for the double, I'll not be surprised if he finds it.
There's Didals also available as a double. Decadal.
Interesting. He's gone for turnover.
And
Yeah, you think in this situation, even if you don't see the bingo, a more balancing play is probably more optimal. Because with this kind of rack, you don't really need to go for turnover. You could probably play a couple of tiles off maybe an AD or LAD and still potentially hope to draw.
Yeah,
AD
LAD would have.
AD underneath Oka, making Oka in bed, maybe. So Shovan's on 17, Sudhir is now on 33.
Azure underneath the Cake seems optimal, yeah.
Yeah.
You have the option of a zone as well. Maybe NU is a better leave than perhaps EU.
That's right.
Yeah, knowing Shogun, I don't think he'd want to play defensively at this point. He'd want to play Azure and give himself the chance of drawing an S or a blank, which will hook onto Azure, rather than Azurn, which doesn't really take any hooks.
He has a bingo on his rack, which plays.
Yeah, so he has a choice of peanuts or passant. Both of which play either hooking OBI or Azure.
I think he would take score and just not be worried about the night timer.
Yeah, for sure.
Decadal, interestingly, doesn't take an S, so I hope he's not thinking of hooking an S over there.
Well, if he thought that was the word, he probably would have played it the previous turn.
Fair point.
Peasant goes down for 80 points. And Sudhir an early lead. 113 for Sudhir and 55 for Sherwin.
I think Euro note plays this turn through the E of Peasant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's what Sherwin's lining up.
Will be face value, but enough to come back into this.
Definitely volatile. Creating a couple of spots.
Really for Sherwin, so these not drawn well.
Sudhir could play Gallop here to the P of Passant.
I think OT would not be valid.
Yes, of course, you're right.
So maybe Aglu on the top left corner. Assuming that's valid.
And seems that Sudhir has beaten all of us and chose
That's lovely,
the,
yeah.
It's a nice play.
chose the Scrabble, the quackle optimal move of Logoi. Which anagrams to Igloo.
Yeah, gives nothing much away, which is ideal when you're playing Sherwin. Sherwin has lined up walks, which seems best.
Sherwin on 117, Sudhir on 147. Still trailing. About to be in the lead soon. Something PIX.
You've got to take walks for the sheer score this turn. That's what he does.
He takes the lead with 161 to 147. That definitely looks bingo-y. I think.
A couple of eights, but none of those play.
He could play something like a page through the P of Passant.
Yeah, I like that play. Keeps a decent leave. He also has the option of playing parallel to Decadal, playing something like Tanga, which would keep the duplicity. It's important to keep scoring. It's always a temptation to fish when you're so close to a bingo, but I think it's imperative to keep the scoreboard ticking.
Yeah, especially given the shape of this board, which isn't really very conducive to bingos at this point. It's probably you'd have to play an 8-letter word through some of the floaters in Decadal or the A in Passant.
So the taking his time. Moves like these can make or break a game, especially from a board development standpoint. It's important to find the right balance. Is there a double through the A of Decadal which he's looking for? Looks unlikely.
Three A's. I'm not sure. But with the L, definitely tempting to look. Plays page for 21, which is good as per quackle. A page was best. Which takes him to 168 and a 7-point lead over Sherwin. Has drawn decently well. So what do you do if you're Sherwin now?
I would consider something like Punely through the L of Decadal, keeping BT. Scores 30 and turns over 5 with both blanks unseen, so you have a shot at drawing one of those.
I think he's lined up in B, which will take him to the triple board score. Keeping P to T. Scores 3 more points than Punily. Not sure if that gives anything back to Sudhir. But Inbi goes down.
B looks
33.
tempting.
Inbi goes down. It's 194 to Sherwin, 168 to Sudhir.
Non-state is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I think non-state should be the player. Not seeing any other rates. Be interesting to see if Sudhir finds his only playable bingo.
There are two. There's a 9-letter play. Uh,
Oh wow.
Hit. Nice.
yeah. And just to remind everyone, the scores are 194 to Sherwin and 168 to Sudhir. Sudhir is set to take the lead soon if he spots one of his two bingos.
Yeah, the 9-letter word is quite high probability as well. About looking through those floaters and trying to conjure up a bingo here.
They all scored the same, so not a huge miss if you miss the 9-letter play. Though from a board development standpoint, it does open up a different area of the board, which might be beneficial in the long run.
It also doesn't give away as much as non-state does in terms
Yeah.
of opening that triple word to the bottom
Correct.
right.
Chat has spotted it. It is Stone Lights through the LI. Let's see if Sudhir can do that.
These moves test your board vision more than anything else. Assuming you know the word, about just looking through those quadrants of the board. We must spend enough time on this. You might consider playing a shorter play in the event he doesn't see both of his bingos, playing off the A and T maybe, keeping tones next. Play like gut and Aura would probably keep the best leave should he not spot his bingo. And there is merit
Yeah.
playing.
If you do want to fish off two tiles, and maybe if you could consider even playing TA alongside Decatur just to open that double word. Open up another lane holding bingo-friendly tiles.
Yeah, fair point. It's always frustrating when your 7-letter words don't play on the board and you're forced to look for 9s. So he does play a 2-letter word indeed.
And
Yeah, especially when you have single pointers, it's hard to score then when you don't have a bingo or don't find the bingo.
Then draw too shabbily afterwards.
He has a 4-timer for next turn if Sherwin leaves that lane open. Like he's lined up Vault, which plays parallel to Ta and 2.
Clearly the best play. Yeah, that takes Sherwin to 217 and Sudhir to 179.
He
Yeah,
does
you'd
have a
expect Sudhir to spot the 8-letter word here.
yeah. Should be fairly straightforward, although it doesn't score as much. But again, Sherwin, you got to take whatever's on offer.
If Sherwin doesn't draw the blank here, it's a pretty huge moment in the game, because if Sudhir does plays bingo, and he has a great chance of drawing one of the two unseen blanks.
And he doesn't. Sherwin doesn't draw the blank. Um, he really needs to see his bingo now.
That will interfere with Sherwin's play of Q through the U of Pesant.
Yes.
That's a crucial moment in the game.
Huge swing.
It looks like he's found it.
Yep. Crucial lead in this game. He goes up to 239 and Sherwin's at 217. Sherwin with the 2 on his rack. Not a lot of good places to put it.
Suddenly the board isn't as open as it seemed a few moves ago.
Yeah, it seemed like Sherwin was in two minds before playing Vault also. I think he recognized that playing the B there really blocked off that part of the board too. But it was the best play at that time.
And Sudhir has drawn way too early.
Still no blank.
Still no blank.
Unfortunate pickup. Too many clunky tiles. Interesting to see what Sherwin plays, especially considering he has the Q, which he deferred last turn as well in the game against Mangla. This might just turn the game in one way or the other.
Maybe something like Pelf, Plod, and ET, keeping QID.
Yeah, that seems best. Interesting, he's chosen turnover, gone with upfield. What do you make of that play, Akshay?
It's a nice play. It's a really nice play. He doesn't need to panic because of the queue just yet. And this turns over tiles. If he does draw a blank here, it really puts him ahead, even with the queue.
So, from his point of view, he needs to get rid of the F and the V if he can. Not seeing a great way of doing that. Sherwin's
Sherwin
drawn
goes
the
up
first.
blank. And Sherwin has also secured a lead in this game by going up to 243. So I had a question, at what point would you consider the blank's value to have drastically reduced on this board? Because all right. So
Interesting, he's chosen. I'm not sure that's valid. Probably.
It's definitely good with the S, but I'm not sure if it's CIVVY.
I think he's confusing between CIVVY and IE. And yeah, Sherwin's rightly challenged it off.
And that will come off. CIVIE maybe.
And CIVVIES.
Huge moment in the game.
Tough to see.
Just illustrates how difficult is it to remember all variants of a particular word, especially those which sound similar, homonyms. And yeah, probably Nigel does it better than anyone else.
Yeah, I think Sherman will be really much more comfortable now after upfield and after seeing Sudhir lose a turn there. Because it's clear that
In
Sudhir
this-
has a tricky rack too, and Sherman can take his time managing his own, especially with a blank on there. He has
You
Jin
could just
lined
play
up 6-2.
QIN. Oh wow. I was considering playing QIN, but yeah, Jin scores much more.
I think this addresses your previous point, Aradhya, that the blank is always valuable. I think on this board, it's probably less valuable from a bingo point of view, but just more from a scoring flexibility standpoint, as Shogun just demonstrated.
Yeah.
Shogun can get rid of just the Q by playing QI for 22 points.
Or if that's an S or an N.
He does opt for Chi.
Couldn't see the last.
So Sudhir's rack is IIMMNRV. Sudhir needs to make something happen here. Maybe a play to that A from Walt just to open up that side of the board. And
Struggling to
support
find
his
anything.
Yeah.
You see anything that fits to the A of Vault?
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like there's anything there.
Slim pickings on this board at this point. Would you consider playing Vim through the eye of upfield?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what it accomplishes because you're still left with two eyes and not a great rack.
So,
But yeah, you're right. I don't see too many other.
I think he's opted to change.
Oh, interesting.
From a tile tracking perspective, those are the last eyes. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, he's hung on to one of them. I think he's got rid of the BIMM.
To draw well. Wow.
Very well.
It's probably wow. Yeah, he surely has put himself in a position of strength.
Yeah, Sherman blocked Nisberry there with the B as a blank.
Wow. So they might be inclined to fish this turn. Needs to open up lanes.
Yeah, the thing is, both so blocked that if he does create an opening, I'm sure Sherwin will make it very difficult to bingo. Because any two-tile play will represent a really strong leave, could represent a blank or at least an S. So that will get Sherwin's antennae up.
Just from a score perspective, I think Sherwin's on 341, so he's on 275. So he really needs a bingo to catch up at this point.
Do you consider playing GUR, just throw off the R and make Sherwin do something which he otherwise wouldn't?
The thing is, GUR doesn't really threaten anything, so Sherwin could just be content to leave it.
Okay. I thought it was opening up a 7-letter lane. My bad. Yeah.
So I've seen tiles from Sudhir's perspective. Can't change now. It's in the bag.
Akshay, how do you go about navigating this kind of a situation, especially when you know that you have the tiles to make it count, but the board doesn't allow much?
I think you have to try and create some volatility here because that's the only way you can win. Maybe burn the S and play something like REINS and Waltz, open the 9-timer. Hope Sherwin isn't able to block everything.
Then yeah, that will take some courage to, rack your rack and hope that Sherwin can't block it. You opted to play red. I would have preferred RIT, RIT instead. What do you make of that?
And I think
Sherwin already is lined up, smeared.
Yeah, so this looks like it's over for Sudhir. This lead
Sherwin's
is probably just too big.
Yeah, so they're probably challenging more out of hope than anything else.
yeah, and it'll make Sherwin go up to 429. Actually, no, 434 with the challenge.
There has the bingo, but I don't think that plays. Oh, Verinos does play. I was looking at Rivlin's, as rightly pointed out. So yeah, there is time to make up for spread.
Yeah, if Sudhir can spot it, it'll be great. He can salvage something from this game. Make it a lot less one-sided. Because he'll also get 30 points from Sherwin's rack on countback.
And he's... What is he trying here? Is there a play through the Y?
Advisory, maybe.
I don't think that's valid.
Yeah, it's easy to maybe get a bit frustrated and go on tilt when you make a 2-tile fish and provide the only floater for your opponent to play a 80-point bingo. And then seemingly feel that you have no place for your own bingo with a blank.
Yeah, especially when you phone it early in the game, it kind of disrupts your mindset a little. Can be frustrating. You don't want to give players like Sherwin an extra turn to gain the advantage. Sudhir has enough time on his clock, I believe, but don't think he's found his bingo, which is a shame.
Yeah, it seems like he probably wants to end this game as quickly as possible, because even if he didn't spot a bingo, there were probably better plays, higher scoring plays than him. Like via ERS through the E of Schmeared.
Yeah, that's the one I was considering. How do you stop a player like Sherwin, especially in this form? You've had his battles against him over the years. Could you have share some insights with our audience?
I think you need to score consistently. Obviously, not make any mistakes, and then of course control the board. Sherwin is a sort of player who likes to play bingos. So if you are able to kind of take a lead and then be a bit more defensive, I think that's tended to work for me in the past. Or just just be unafraid and play completely wide open and take your chances, assuming that you do know enough words to kind of make a difference, and of course be able to recall them and spot them and not make any mistakes. So play perfectly is the answer, but that's not always easy to do. But I think Sherwin's it's been another dominant performance from Sherwin in this game, and even if you account for some of the errors that Sudhir may have made, I think it's worth highlighting that Sherwin really played through some clunky racks here, had some difficult choices, and they really paid off in the end. So upfield was a really great play. I think that it was quite a pivotal point in the game.
Siren. And
You may have been thinking of Resiny, but yeah, Siren is no good.
Siren is not good, but I don't think it is being challenged off. Yeah.
Again, he could have played re-wins or raw wins through the W of Ween.
Oh. Getting on lead. So the score right now is 463 to Sherwin and 286 to Sudhir.
Yeah, so what was shaping up to be a really close game has turned into a blowout.
Yeah.
And I think it really goes to highlight how much one move can really cost you if you don't get it right. That missed turn by Sudhir really hurt him in the end.
Sharaf doesn't go out. Is sworn. All right. So the final score 487 to Sherwin and 307 to Sudhir. Another dominant win. Thanks a lot for joining us, Akshay. I think that I may have lost his connection.
Yeah, nice game, and win number 16 on the row for Sherwin. I haven't looked at the latest rankings, but he's really building on that lead over the next best player. So someone needs to catch up to him quickly and stop him if they need to try and prevent him from winning the tournament and being Gibsonized.
How far away is he from being Gibsonized? Actually,
well, I think there are 25 rounds in total, so 9 games to go. And he may be 4 or 5 ahead of the second ranked player already.
Yeah, probably more.
Probably more. So then he just, and given the spread that he's accumulated so far, it's probably a matter of winning another 2 or 3 games.
and King of the Hill started.
King of the Hill starts tomorrow.
King of the Hill starts tomorrow. Miss of tonalites, I think, key swinging point here. Tonalites are non-state.
Non-state, yeah.
But that could have changed the game.
Always easier when you're on the sidelines and trying to find plays.
Yes, crucially.
And the pressure is really mounting when you're in the thick of things. And probably, I'm sure Sudhir in isolation probably would have seen it, but yeah, just the pressure of the game and the opponent as mighty as Sherwin does play its part. Nerves do come into the play.
Definitely. As much as you want to sort of let go of the fact that every game is independent and anything can happen, just play your best optimal moves. It's hard to ignore at the top tables playing someone like Sherwin that pressure is high, can't afford to make mistakes, and definitely would hurt your chances.
Yeah, also the pressure of the camera being on that table, the live stream does play its part. I would imagine.
But then again, I mean, if Scrabble is to become like a larger sport with more and more people, this is unavoidable in my view. People will need to, get a little more accustomed to it, perhaps over time, may become part of the game.
Yep. I think to reach a bigger audience, you need to have something like this, reaching out to people who are just starting out and seeing a Sherwin or even an Akshay. Akshay is not playing this one, of course, but just seeing how the best players go about finding the best moves, turn in, turn out, and finding clutch plays when the pressure is on. I think that's mighty impressive, and there's a lot to learn for a lot of us.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, shout out to everyone who has done this in the past as well, including our excellent organization team of Sonal and Mahesh, who have managed to create this stream for us. Or any future Scrabblers to perhaps also see and get inspired by.
A lot of hard work, which I'm sure they'll be happy they've put in the effort, and the rewards are there
Yeah.
for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Are we
Right,
starting the
next.
next game? Or is there a break?
I think we may just be starting the next game because they have to vacate this venue by 5. So there's a chance that
All right, I think we have Rahil in commentary next game, so yeah. Thanks, Aradhya. Thanks, Akshay. I'll be stepping aside for now.
thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, Hriday.
Thanks, Hriday.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, Akshay, how are you doing?
Hey, Rahil.
Rahil.
Missing the action?
Yeah, I always love playing Pune. It's one of my favorite tournaments. I try not to miss it whenever I can, so it's I'm feeling bad, especially given that it's the 25th anniversary. So it seems like a pretty good field. So I would have loved to play.
Yeah, Sherwin's really pulling off something special, building up a gap of 5 wins over the next best player is uh, really, really something.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing earlier. That it's possible that he might be Gibsonized if he wins the next 2 or 3 games, given the spread that he has. It's already looking very unlikely that someone will be able to overtake him.
Exactly, yeah. This looks like a tussle for second place right now, and I think there's a number of good players there, and they are really not letting anyone else run away with it and catch up to Sherwin. We've got 3 players on 10 wins. That was as of the last round, and Sherwin was on 15. And I think all 3 of them, Uday, Nishika, Madhav, have been tussling and making sure that no one really runs away to catch up to Sherwin. So while we have you here, Akshay, you mentioned that Pune is one of your favorite venues. Any fond memories of Pune? Any funny stories from Pune?
I remember winning the nationals in Pune once. Again, we used to have a lot. The tournaments used to be a lot shorter then, and I think there was one tournament which was like a 14-round tournament, and I was fortunate enough to be unbeaten in that tournament. But one of the highlights there was probably, and this is a game that Udayan and I still talk about even today. Udayan had a reasonable lead on the board, and I had the queue, and I played quote QEOT, opening a 9-timer lane with the blank unseen, and Udayan wasn't as concerned about the 9-timer because there were other bingo spots elsewhere, so he chose to block some of them, and I actually drew um, a blank out of the bag and played misquote. So for 194. So in the span of two moves, quote and misquote probably scored 250 and helped me to win that game. So that's something that we still um, talk about. He actually got a little bit of revenge against me for that by playing Tranquil in the Nationals this year with the Q on the double letter and a triple word for 130 or to win the game by 8 points, I think. So there's something about
Oh, wow.
Q bingos.
Indeed. I think quote and misquote would generally cancel each other out, but I think here they just combined in a very beautiful way for you.
Yeah. And of course, all the Indian players will know that, or anyone who's ever played a tournament in Pune will know that the food at Pune Club is probably the best at any tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was playing my first Pune tournament back in 2016, and on the way there, I'd heard legends of Fruit Funny, and I'll be honest, it did not disappoint one bit. Right, I think the players are getting ready to start the next game. I think Sherwin playing Meena Bakru.
Udan, I think, uh, star of our previous story. Also, oh, Meena, I think. So,
Yeah, that's Meena versus Sherwin.
for some reason I thought it was right.
Meena Bakru definitely no walkover. She won the Open Division of Nationals. I think it was back in 2019, just before the pandemic. So she's been around the circuit quite a lot. You know, pulled off quite a few impressive wins, and I think everyone will be rooting for her to catch up and uh, bring that elusive loss to Sherwin, so the rest have a chance.
Yeah, for sure. She's definitely a veteran. She's been playing for the longest time, and yeah, definitely rooting for the underdog to win. And that's really the beauty of Scrabble, right? That anyone can win against any player, given the right situation, the right tiles, the right place.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been around the tournament circuit, many players have that story of conquering one of the best players of the country, pulling a win over Sherwin. I remember one of the WSLs, he was a similar streak, and I think second, uh, the player rated second from bottom ended up pulling a win over Sherwin, and that was really a cause for a lot of buzz and excitement.
Yes, and as you said, the three players who are probably next in contention, Ishika, Udayan, and Madhav, will really be rooting for Meena to do something special here. It's a great moment to play on the top table, to be live streamed. There's a chance here for Meena to pull off one of those wins that you were just talking about, Rahil, and something that she can be proud of in the future.
Definitely.
I
Hृदय just mentioned that she beat Sunny earlier today. So I think, with a little bit of luck, uh, I think she he may just conquer Sherwin as well. Let's hope for it. Sherwin's a dear friend, but I'd love to see the competition get a little interesting at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Sherwin's a fantastic player, and the overwhelming favorite here. But I think the key for anyone in this situation is to stay calm, focus on their own game, not get overawed by the occasion, and just play each rack on its own merit.
Great. And I can vouch for the fact that there's at least three other players rooting for Mina right now as they play their own games. Uh, and Wimpy looks best.
Yeah, I think Wimpy is probably the high scoring play in this rack, and she spots it pretty instantly.
Yeah, Mina didn't even really have to shuffle her tiles here. It kind of just popped up on her rack.
Sure, matters. Duplicate use.
Do you see a great option that let's say use one of let's Sherwin use one of the U's? Would you opt for something like HUM?
I mean, ideally, you'd want to play both the U's, maybe something like Ulu um, or Ulu. Score isn't as much of a consideration here as being able to bingo first, right? So you want to balance towards the bingo.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Sherwin agrees with you on that.
Sherwin plays Ulu, but he had the play of Thulium on his rack, which would have been great for turnover and would have left just an E. As we see Mina lining up first blood.
yeah, that's a great draw after Wimpy. So AGI and blank to CT. I wonder if she could have taken some time to think about a double word, uh, a four timer through the eye of Wimpy.
We don't know if that's an R or an S.
Or even an N.
Yeah. A number of
The
things.
defensive option would be to make it an S because both the N and the R would take an S as a front hook.
Yeah, Hriday is suggesting one of the options on the four timer, which are the act citing, ACCITING. I myself spotted granitic.
Yes. Yeah, so again, it's tempting to play the bingo immediately, but given that it's so early on in the game and the added value that a play like Granitic could add, it's probably worth spending those 2 or 3 extra minutes, especially when you have a blank.
But it does give her a 100-point lead over Sherwin, with a score being 112 and Sherwin being on 9. Actually, a good position to be in.
Sherwin might play something like HOE under the U of Ulu.
Yeah, that seemed like the best balance and scores a fair bit as well.
See, probably hoping for an I cuff line. Not sure if that's valid. It's not.
She could play fluence to the E of O.
Oh, I think she's playing Affluence.
Thinking of affluence and
That's 9 letters. Yeah.
Affluence. It's been played and it will get challenged.
Wow. This could be nerves again. Nina's got a 100-point lead, as you said. It's maybe she's a bit excited about driving home the advantage, but it's still a pretty expensive miss here because it potentially allows Sherwin to exchange or at least balance his rack for a low score.
Definitely was struggling here with all those vowels. The free pass.
Yeah, and he now has full knowledge of Mina's rack, so he doesn't need to be concerned about her bingoing the next turn or having power tiles that she can score with.
So in this situation, what being a particularly unique sort of place, what would you prioritize? You would prioritize sorting your own rack or blocking your opponent's best play, ensuring that they're stuck with they can't make
No, I
their
think
next best.
yeah. In this situation, I think the odds are 9 times out of 10 your opponent is having lost a turn is probably a little flustered at least. So I think it's unlikely that they would find the best play. So I think the point is that you should probably be more concerned about your own rack. So I think changing here is just optimal regardless. And we've seen that Meena doesn't really have a lot of great plays, so Sherwin's probably working that out too. If she didn't spot fluence the previous turn, it's unlikely that she will the next.
I mean, affluence is not that far from fluence. It's
Sure.
possible that she. Heather points out canful as an option. Which also scores decently. I think he's opted to change her. Prediction was right, Akshay. She has played flute.
Yeah, and given Sherwin a spot for a bingo when he didn't have one.
Oh, I didn't see his rack. Keening. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that comes down immediately.
Nina needs an A for canned refs.
Cantref still plays, leaving only an S. Petrovic was burning the backup. And Nina's lead slowly disappearing with 136 that she's on right now, and Sherwin on 113. So, crucial turns.
I think Tref, parallel to the PE of Teening, should be a decent score, holding on to the S.
I wouldn't even mind taking a punt on just playing CAF through the A of casting, keeping E and RST. I think it's worth a shot. With the board being relatively open.
You have the chance of hitting the 9-timer as well if it stays available.
Yeah, and with so many eyes unseen, you could potentially draw an INGS or even just an ING play to that G.
Okay, Neff goes down. Committed.
Yeah, I think Nina had the same idea as me. I think Tref would still be my, uh, could be a better option here, considering that T would then make another lane for ascending bingos.
Yeah.
And with no vowels, you would ideally want to play off one more consonant.
Interestingly enough, the play of Neff um, blocks the S hook of Teening with Steening. So for Quackle, the best play here was Fest making Steening for 42 points, burning the S.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice as well.
Sherwin is lined up bigger on his back.
Would you consider just playing XI and negating the bet of the 9-timer?
Yeah, I saw XI straight away. I think that's probably what I would have played for 8 points more than bigger.
Quacker agrees with you. Better than bigger. The other player here was Coxib from the sea of casting or carting or canting.
Yeah, I think Coxid just makes the board even more volatile, and with Sherwin hitting back into it, I think he's keen on keeping it a little tighter.
I can see the thought process behind bigger as well. I think he may have kept the X as insurance for just getting another higher scoring play elsewhere.
Carrot goes down to DS. Bearing in mind that Mina is still in the lead here with 186 to 143 to Sherwin.
Yeah, I like Carrot. It's a very bold play. It gets Sherwin to think a little bit about his next play.
Mina draws into a bingo, which, depending on what the blank is, can play.
Yeah, I think we'll find out next turn what the blank is.
Yeah. Sherwin plays the price from not playing off his X. A very, very clunky rack.
Brown opts to keep the score ticking, just plays the cue off.
Is the Q. Sherwin still behind, 165.
Would you consider playing something like Walks or Wax over the W of Wimpy?
Yeah, it's reasonable. I think he just probably wanted to get rid of the queue, and he probably also figured that because Meena played 5 tiles, she may not have been as close to a bingo as we know she is. Which is
Exactly,
why
and
he
I
didn't
think
want to
Meena,
interfere with the T of Carrot or whatever.
I think Meena taking her time to figure out her next move.
No.
Oh, I think she's hoping that off takes TS.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Pretty quickly.
I mean, you can get away with one phony maybe, but 2 phonies is really difficult to come back from.
And Sherwin knowing that she has this on her rack is especially. I think with that we can assume that the blank is an S.
Yeah. Hriday is pointing out in the chat that Sherwin has actually got away with 2 phonies in one game.
I think that was a game yesterday against Madhav. I think just the sheer word knowledge that Sherwin has, it's easy for him to portray that sort of confidence that actually makes the opponent doubt himself that, okay, I don't think I've studied this.
Yeah, but let's say as an intermediate player or as a player who's trying to improve, surely if you've seen a word that you don't know, there's very little downside to giving the player who's expected to win another 5 points. It's not really going to change the game in any way.
I definitely agree with your thought process there.
Might see walks come down now, or maybe wax.
I would actually
Wax.
like Vox to have come down earlier, and if he would have held the QA, he could have, maybe had a cut play. He ended up picking a T. There's still three Ts to come. I think playing just that Q, uh, I don't know, I feel that he could have got more value for that Q.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Would you
I think
consider
it gives
playing
easy.
wax to the left of this, knowing that? I mean, I can probably burn BE for a decent score, but then keep RURNS for next turn.
Yeah, I mean, she could have played RE as well for a few points less. But Vox here doesn't really give away anything.
I think Vox playing Xeris would be a decent score, and give put her back into Q. It's not a great leave of DRN, but having missed a couple of turns, I'd be happy taking the 36 points.
Both discommitted. Mina's lead has disappeared now. Sherwin on 193, Mina on 192. Still close.
Sherwin has a nice double here of Labroid if he chooses to play it.
Yeah, I think Sherwin has seen that as well.
Other options include Voila. As Mina draws into Sanari. But I don't think that goes. I don't think that plays anywhere.
Yeah, she has binaries through the B.
Yeah. That spot is gone now. I see. Doesn't play.
Xenia is probably the standout play here now.
Yeah, I think 36 points keeps her in the hunt.
Yep. The interesting option for 3 more points is Ugaries. Burning the S. Xenia definitely better. 7 on 233 now, and on 192.
Yeah, Meena needs to spot Xenia here because there are very few other scoring options for her on this board.
I think maybe in the phase of hoping that there is still something. We've all been in that place before, furiously searching for something.
I think she's probably looking at the sea of Labroid if there's something that plays through that.
The D of Labrador only has dry scene, right? And that doesn't.
Yeah, so I think she's
Yeah.
just, covering her bases and going through those options before.
Another problem is you probably want to open at this point. You're not really thinking about scoring as much as because you're very close to a bingo, if not for a bingo itself. Reason.
Yeah, again, there aren't really any bingo spots on this board. So unless you can hook an S on the Labroid, so there's probably very little merit in fishing here.
Yeah. I understand that she only has one pointers, but the ideal sort of shape for her would have been to place something to the R of Labroid, opening up a bunch of floaters for an 8-letter word.
Yeah, something like error maybe.
Yeah. It scores too little compared to Xenia if you spot Xenia to justify that.
More importantly, I think it adds too much volatility when you're playing four times of, and not scoring enough.
Agreed. I mean, volatility in terms of your own rack, right? Like, you don't know what you're going to draw next.
Exactly. I mean, you would take that kind of a bargain when you are, you're scoring enough. Error would score maybe 18 and
Please see.
okay. He just off to play the eye off for 9 points. He's kept a very good set, but he really needs a tile that allows her to go the next turn.
Actually, in terms of equity, surprisingly, it's not that far behind Xenia. Um, the valuation for Xenia was 48 and for C is 39.5. It's the fourth best option. Xenia spots near side. But that doesn't play.
Looks like Sherman's considering Jeels for 40, which also blocks the Labrador hook.
He's favoring his right. Two cards in his hands.
It's finalized on James, which is by far his best scoring option. 40 points. It's in a commanding lead of this game, uh, bringing up to 273. Mina is on 201. He's looking for place. To And this doesn't look good for Mina because she's drawn instantly the one of the few letters which doesn't bingo with that set for a 7. And
The thing is, even if she had drawn a bingo, it's unlikely that she would have had a spot to play it.
correct.
And it's possible that she might try and fish again.
Which she is. And I'm just curious. I mean, when exactly do you stop doing that? That's the because there is a you can get caught in this trap of consistently looking, and coming devilishly close, but not really getting there. Is
I
there a
think you
trick?
should. Yeah, I think when you see that this score difference is actually widening beyond a bingo score, or reaching that point, then it's probably time to think of Plan B and pivoting away from a bingo, and just maybe trying to score 25 and maybe creating some other openings on the board. Because obviously you're representing a really good rack, a really strong rack. So it's almost a certainty that the other player is not going to make things easy for you to bingo.
Definitely.
Yeah, so it's drawn into another bingo rack, but there's no place that it fits.
To another unplayable 7 of Re-Risen and Resigner. Plays raise. It's raised for 26 points, keeping REN. What do you think of that play?
She's probably reached that point where she's realized that a bingo is not coming down, and she needs to take some corrective action to narrow the spread here. But having said that, maybe I was looking at that top left side of the board. Maybe she could have played something like RINE and EL just to create another bingo lane there with some T's unseen. But it's also possible that 26 is among the higher scores that she can achieve on this board, so she chose to take it.
She draws well again.
Again, I see a 7 on her back right away. I wonder if she has something with that E or R that we just played.
Sherwin on 297, Meena on 239. Sherwin has a pretty interesting sounding word. She can play to the E of raise.
Odite?
Yes, that's one. There's a slightly better option as well, which uses both Ds. Pull out second best option. Yeah. I think the play is Poddy, Poddie. Definitely, it's interesting. This play is pooled. Kyle, what do you think of pool?
Yeah, I think Sherwin is going into defensive mode, closing those floaters of RNE without giving a new one. Not sure if I would do that so early in the game with the leads that he has right now. But I think I can see the merit of it definitely.
He draws the blank. I think now we'll see something above labroids for a new lane, perhaps, or and something to the R of labroids for potential 8-letter lane. See Sen go down.
And Sen doesn't really create anything new.
Yeah, it also
Precisely.
broadcast to Sherwin that Meena has a second S. or it's very likely that she has second as.
Bunch of worst possible outcomes now for Mina as she draws two A's. I think three A's on her rack. Really bad. Top scoring plays for Sherwin seem to all open the board quite aggressively, which is unlikely to do.
Yeah, I think Sherman's going to wait and try and, or at least wait for Nina to open the board.
So candidate plays
And I think he's
for
getting ready to play OK parallel to carrot.
took for 20 points.
20. Yeah, definitely 3 points better than what I suggested. And exactly what Akshay was suggesting, that he's going to wait for Nina to open it up and keep a good lead to capitalize when she does.
And for Mina, who's on 254 now, staring at Sherwin 331. Not a lot of good options, I'm assuming. Um, Did you guys see anything?
No, she'll probably want to play two A's somewhere or AAL maybe.
Yeah. Luka and Na. Makes sense. But doesn't really help her situation. Sherwin has a multitude of bingos on his rack, but
I think Shravan is fine not being going, just keeping the score ticking.
.331 to 266. Um, Not really looking very promising for me now. Having some crazy change of events.
Yeah, the most likely outcome here is a win for Sherwin because if the status quo continues, then the game is just going to drift towards the board getting more and more closed. And Sherwin won't mind that because he's sitting on a 50-point lead.
I think these guys may be short on time as well because 10 minutes ago there were 9 and 10 minutes on the clock. Not sure exactly what the current status is, but Sherwin plays Diva.
That D not giving anything to Nina. He has delayers, but the position of the D is just not useful for her.
Yeah, and the thought process from Sherwin's point of view is that if Meena were to find a bingo through the D, she'd be forced to open a 9-timer lane, and he is sitting with the blank.
So finally, that R spot gets utilized with layer, but maybe too little too late. Sherman still in the lead with 349. Meena on 293. As she picks up beautifully. I'm not sure if there's an 8 in that. I see the 7s.
There is actually an 8 through the D.
There is an 8 to the D, exactly. It's a little bit on the nose.
Let our chat also understand that.
Would you know how many tiles are in the bag, Aradhya?
There's 8 unseen tiles. So there
And I
might
put
be
one
only
in the
one tile in the back. There's one in the back.
Okay.
Sherwin's point of view, from Sherwin's point of view, really bad. There's definitely a bingo. I think the tile in the
Yeah,
bag
I
is
think
empty.
Sherwin would do well to play Z and try to close that lane. But yeah, what can play through the L? So the unseen ties to Sherwin are Orson, and there's a T in the bag.
Yeah.
So I think he's trying to consider the worst case scenario if she's able to land the bingo. Because they're just 56 points apart at this point.
I mean, if you really, really wanted to be 100% sure, maybe something like ZEUGN8 to the A of layer with the U as a blank. Doesn't score much, but it kills every single bingo lane there.
But does that block the bingo through the D?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
It blocks all 3 bingo lanes.
Yeah, I think that's a very effective way of dealing with that. Right. Great find, Akshay.
Plays mids.
It melts. I think the score difference means that if she can, she gets a bingo through the L or the A, it's not going to be enough for her.
Yeah. That should do it. There is a very nice, pleasing play available for Meena here. If she spots the correct hooks. So, through the sea of casting.
Oh, that's nice. $44.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, that would have been a good play.
The play was coarse, making Stook and a bunch of overlaps. But I think it's opted for O here. And,
The play of 4 from Mina blocks Sherwin's outplay of Kiri.
scared to take himself past 400. 430. Yeah, we have entered this game. Sherwin on 435 and Meena on 329. And yeah, again, another dominant win for Sherwin, who is getting very, very close to finishing this tournament very, very quickly.
Yeah, again, some early momentum for Meena, but she wasn't able to capitalize. She lost a couple of turns. And Sherwin was just able to score and keep the board closed, control the shape of the board, and eventually, when Meena did draw into bingos, they just weren't playable.
As a highlight, I mean, effluence and burners, those two phonies, definitely not helping. Well played to both the players. Not easy being the last game of the day. Everyone's tired. A lot of games over the day. So, and thanks a lot, Akshay and Rahul, for joining in.
Thank you. It was exciting to
Thank you.
see Sherwin march on. We're not having another game today.
I don't think so. Um, 'Cause we may
I'll
have to
just check
vacate
the
the
external
game.
ones before we log off.
Considering until the holidays, I don't think there's enough game. Thanks a lot.